Lena's world was made of shadows and whispers. In the small village of Oakenford, nestled deep within the dense forests of the Carpathians, the year 1897 brought with it an air of unease. The villagers were simple folk, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the seasons and the old tales passed down through generations. But that year, the winter had been particularly harsh, and the crops had failed. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, and a pall of despair hung over the village like a thick fog. Lena was 16, with raven black hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see through the darkness. Her family had once been prosperous, owning the largest plot of land in Oakenford. But fortune had turned against them. Her father, Victor, had taken ill with a mysterious fever that left him bedridden, his strength sapped away. Her mother, Anya, toiled day and night to tend to him and their dwindling farm, while Lena cared for her younger siblings, Pavel and Irina. One cold evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows deepened, a stranger arrived in Oakenford. He was tall and gaunt, with eyes that glittered like obsidian in the firelight. He introduced himself as Gregor, a wanderer and healer. The villagers, desperate for any glimmer of hope, welcomed him cautiously. Gregor offered his services to the ailing and the desperate, claiming knowledge of ancient remedies and potions. Lena watched him with a mixture of hope and suspicion. There was something unsettling about Gregor, something that made her skin prickle whenever he was near. But as the days passed, and her father's condition worsened, she knew they had little choice. One night, Lena approached Gregor, her eyes pleading for his help. "Please, can you save my father?" she asked, her voice trembling. Gregor studied her for a moment before nodding slowly. "I can try," he said. "But there will be a price." Lena's heart sank. "We have no money to offer," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. Gregor shook his head. "Not money. Something far more precious." He leaned in closer, his eyes locking onto hers. "Your future." Lena felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Gregor smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "I will save your father. In return, you must come with me when the time is right. Your fate will be mine to decide." Lena hesitated, the weight of his words pressing down on her. But as she looked back at her father, pale and frail in his bed, she knew she had no choice. "I agree," she said, her voice breaking. That night, Gregor administered a concoction of herbs and mysterious liquids to Victor. By morning, the fever had broken, and Victor's strength slowly returned. The villagers hailed Gregor as a miracle worker, and Lena's family rejoiced. But in the back of Lena's mind, a dark cloud loomed, a reminder of the price she had yet to pay. Months passed, and life in Oakenford began to improve. The crops grew strong, and the villagers found new hope. Lena tried to push the thought of Gregor and his ominous promise to the back of her mind. But on the eve of the harvest festival, he returned. "It is time," he said simply, standing at the edge of the village, cloaked in shadows. Lena felt a surge of panic but knew there was no escape. She kissed her family goodbye, their tears mingling with her own, and followed Gregor into the night. They walked for hours, deeper into the forest than Lena had ever ventured. The trees seemed to close in around them, their branches whispering secrets and warnings. At last, they reached a clearing, where a small, dilapidated cabin stood. Gregor led Lena inside, and she was struck by the eerie silence that enveloped the place. The air was thick with the scent of herbs and something darker, something Lena couldn't quite place. "You will serve me here," Gregor said, his voice echoing in the small space. There is much to learn, and your suffering will be the key to unlocking the power within you. Lena's days became a blur of toil and torment. Gregor was a harsh master, demanding and unforgiving. He taught her the ways of the forest, the secrets of the plants, and the dark arts that lay hidden beneath the surface. Lena's hands became calloused and stained with the blood of sacrifices, her mind a battlefield of fear and determination. The nights were the worst. Alone in the darkness, Lena's thoughts would turn to her family, to the life she had left behind. She missed the warmth of her mother's embrace, the laughter of her siblings, the simple joy of a life unburdened by shadows. But there was no escape. Gregor's hold on her was unyielding, his presence a constant reminder of the price she had paid. As the years passed, Lena's power grew. She learned to harness the forces of nature, to bend them to her will. But with each spell cast, each potion brewed, a piece of her humanity slipped away. She became a creature of the forest, bound to its ancient rhythms, her soul entwined with the dark magic that Gregor had awakened within her. One night, as a storm raged outside, Lena stood at the edge of the clearing, her eyes fixed on the distant village of Oakenford. She could see the faint glow of lanterns, hear the distant echoes of laughter and song. A longing surged within her, a desperate need to return to the life she had lost. But Gregor's voice cut through the night, sharp and cold. "There is no going back," he said, his eyes glittering with malice. "You belong to the forest now, to the darkness." Lena turned to face him, her heart heavy with sorrow and rage. "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why did you take me from my family?" Gregor's smile was cruel. "Power comes at a cost," he said. "You were the price your family paid for their survival. They thrive because you suffer. Such is the way of the world." Lena's fists clenched, her nails digging into her palms. She wanted to scream, to lash out, to break free of the chains that bound her. But she knew Gregor was right. The power she had gained, the knowledge she had acquired, it was all tied to her suffering. Without it, she was nothing. And so, Lena remained in the forest, a shadow among shadows, her heart a fortress of pain and resilience. She watched over Oakenford from afar, her love for her family a beacon of light in the darkness that consumed her. She became a guardian, a protector, her suffering the shield that kept her village safe. Years turned into decades, and the stories of the dark forest which became legend. Mothers would warn their children not to venture too deep into the woods, lest they cross paths with the witch who traded her future for the village's prosperity. But Lena's name was forgotten, her sacrifice lost to time. Yet, in the quiet moments of the night, when the wind whispered through the trees and the moon cast its pale light over the forest, the villagers would sometimes hear a song. A haunting melody that spoke of love and loss, of sacrifice and suffering. And in those moments, they would remember the nameless guardian who watched over them, a silent protector bound by the shadows, her heart forever entwined with the fate of Oakenford.